Ladies and gentlemen, my name is VTech Guy. I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and we got a special guest with us today. First, let me introduce my co-host today, Chris Mullins Jr. How are you doing, sir?
I'm back, ladies and gentlemen, as always. I'm doing great today. How about yourself?
That's pretty good. It's been a bit of a long day. I've had some exams, but everything's winding down, and what a great way to end it with a big interview. Mr. Man Scout Jake Manning, how are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you very much for sitting down and talk with me today.
That's pretty
good.
Oh,
most definitely.
I'm really in particular because interviewing you is kind of like giving back to you for what you did to me, and you might not have recognized it because about a year and a half ago when I was in high school, I was doing a wrestling project actually for my senior project on professional wrestling injuries. You, Zane, and Caleb Conley, who people will mostly know him now for Impact Wrestling, when you guys were doing the Revolt stuff with BTW, and I went to an event here in North Carolina. You guys helped me out a bunch by telling me your stories, so I definitely want to say thank you for that, and definitely let you plug everything that you're doing right now with your podcast. I said you just got finished doing one, right?
Yeah, I just finished recording an episode of How Did This Get Booked, which is basically my podcast that I do with Zane, and basically we watch less than spectacular professional wrestling shows, and we make a non-wrestling fan watch those shows with us and sit down and discuss it and talk about it. It's basically like a ripoff of How Did This Get Made, but the beauty of it is we have somebody who's a non-wrestling fan be exposed to not so great professional wrestling. Like we just finished recording a episode about WCW's Great American Bash 1991, and we had my good friend Raj Kumar on, and Raj grew up in India and lived in India until age 27. And he hasn't seen anything wrestling related in 20 years. And the last time he saw anything wrestling related was when he watched a Bollywood movie about professional wrestling. So he's about as qualified as Jim Herd to run WCW. So, but it's very interesting to see what his perspective is on a wrestling show that most people deem as being less than spectacular or subpar or not great, and how he liked it, what he liked about it, what he didn't like about it, what he didn't understand. Apparently he understood more about WCW in the early 90s than I ever did, so he's doing better than I am.
Well, that was the time when WCW was still trying to find their mark. The problem was when they found their mark, they didn't keep their mark, and we all know what happened in WCW 2000.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting to see what an outsider's perspective is on our business. That's what I find very fascinating.
Yeah, that's what when you're telling us about that before the podcast, I was literally thinking that's an awesome idea. That's just it's something you would never think about. It would not be something that would immediately hit your head.
Well,
but
in my
when you really think about it,
in my mess up brain, it definitely bounced in there. So that's. But I've always been outside the box. Good and bad.
I like that. Speaking of outside the box, the Man Scout gimmick. You got to tell us where how that all started, where it all started, because it's like I was telling you, it's a very unique gimmick.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm an actual Eagle Scout. I've reached my Eagle Scout rank just underneath the wire. I completed my service project, filed my paperwork just before the deadline, right before I turned 18. But I went through all the review boards when I was 18, which you can legally do, but you have to have all your paperwork filed before you're 18. So I achieved Eagle Scout, and I've always been a professional wrestling fan. And when I first got into professional wrestling in 2003, I figured, you have to have a character, you have to have a gimmick. That's what everybody thinks, especially any outsider. That's what you see, what's my wrestling character going to be? And I was always very proud of my accomplishments in Boy Scouts. And I always had this great idea of, what if some person's whole life was wrapped up around Boy Scouts and the achievements of collecting merit badges and camping and all the things that come with being a Boy Scout. And obviously you get kicked out of Boy Scouts at 18. Well, what if somebody was so wrapped up in it that when they got kicked out, they didn't know how to handle life, because that's what happens when you go out of high school, because some people don't handle, moving on to college or moving away from high school. Some people can't come to grips with that. Well, what if instead of the high school quarterback that can't come to grips with his new reality, what if the guy who was wrapped up in scouting couldn't come to grips with his reality? And what type of mindset would he have? Would he delve into a whole crazy delusional belief that he's now a man scout, and I'm doing man scout things, and I'm earning man scout merit badges, and I have to do this, for the good of the man scout, and I have a sense of honor, and of course that clear black and white mentality of good and right and wrong, that as a young kid and that Boy Scouts teach you, that tends to blur over time because of reality. So how does somebody that's faced with that reality, faced with being pushed out of something they love, what type of character would that create? And that character is the Man Scout. And he's now in professional wrestling because he's trying to get his professional wrestling merit badge. And that was basically the origin story of the Man Scout. And I remember pitching it to my trainers in the Midwest, and they told me that was the dumbest thing they ever heard before in their life. And they told me that I was going to be a Mr. Perfect knockoff called Mr. Elite. And I wore that around for a while, and then I didn't even have a name. I was just Mr. Elite, and then I finally gave myself Jake Manning because I like my first name, Jake. It's well enough, but Manning was a name that was knocking around because Eli Manning, Peyton Manning.
Yeah, it's the all-American name, really, if you think about it.
And also too, I was thinking about calling myself Rex Manning for a while from Empire Records. I was like, Rex is a cool name. But then I was like, Jake's a pretty cool name. Fearbox hard to say for a ring announcer, so I'll just stick with Manning. So that's why I became Jake Manning. And then in 2007, on a fair show, I got some green trunks. I wore my Boy Scout outfit. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this Man Scout thing. Just one day. I'm going to try it out right now. And see what happens. And before I ever locked up, the guy that I was wrestling was like, this is the best thing you've ever done. And from that point, I've been trying to refine it, perfect it. But I think I've got a good handle on it right now. I went through a lot of growing pains on what the Man Scout was supposed to look like, what he was supposed to do, how he was supposed to act, what he's about. But I think I kind of figured it out, and I can kind of play in whatever form of it you want it to be, maybe good guy, bad guy, comic relief, whatever. I know where I can be plugged into in any situation now, but it took a long time to get there. Like, if you look back at old pictures of some of the outfits and some of the wrestling matches, and you can see how I had a tough time figuring out what this was, but I feel like by now I've kind of figured it out, at least in the last 3 to 4 years. I think I figured out a good balance of everything to make it entertaining and unique and wonderful, because it wasn't like I figured it out in 2003, and it wasn't like I figured it out when I started doing it in 2007. It took a long time for him to develop into what it is today, and I'm pretty happy the way it came out. So
I definitely like the character. It's really unique.
That's what, like, I've only ever seen it on YouTube. I've never seen it in person. But from what I've seen, I really like it. It is like we've been saying, it's really unique. It's something you don't see anywhere. Like, you see so many gimmicks that you could really like link almost all the gimmicks you can see to previous gimmicks you've seen in professional wrestling. But that's one you can't.
Yep, exactly. And also too, depending on what you're watching, it's different. If you're watching the Man Scout in PWX, I am this super uber babyface, underdog type character. But if you're at a big time wrestling show, it's very goofy, slapsticky, almost comic relief in the show. But if you're watching Revolver, the Man Scout is an absolute and utter sexist pig and the worst human being on the planet. But it's still of the same ilk of who that person is. But I'm multiple different things, but I know how that character would react in those different incarnations. So I see it as almost like an actor playing different roles. Like,
well, yeah, it's almost the setting dictates the character.
It's much like Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro is still Robert De Niro, but he's a different character in Backdraft than he is in American Hustle or Taxi Driver or The Godfather. Like, he's still Robert De Niro, and you know him as such, and he's still doing De Niro things, but he's in The Intern and he's playing something more sweet. But then he's in American Hustle and he's playing a very heavy, dark gangster. So like I see the Man Scout character as that. Like, I know who I am, and when you see me, you see this. But what are the nuances to make this character different each time? But some of those differences each time, it makes it difficult. It doesn't. I don't fit in a box, and I think that's part of the problem with people when they see me. Is they see me in a Revolver and like, oh, the Man Scout's a sexist pig, I'm not going to watch his stuff in PWX. Well, no, that's not the same character. And if you see me in PWX, I'm like, oh, he's a very cheery underdog, good babyface guy. I'm going to see his Revolver matches. Oh no, that is not the guy I like at all. You know, but I think that's shows the depth of like how you can take this unique character and how he plays in those certain situations. Like I said, it's like Robert De Niro. He's still Robert De Niro, or Pacino. Pacino's still Pacino, but he plays a cop or he plays something else. You know, how does he do that?
You still have that base.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, most definitely. So, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions for him, Dom?
Yeah, we actually have one fan question today from Mr. Aaron Oliwa, who is also in the Boy Scout program. He said, why do you use the 4 fingers instead of 3? I'm not certain what that means, but by all means, feel free to elaborate for us. I know you tell us about the Scout program and it carrying over.
Absolutely. It's actually it's a good story, and it's usually the thing when people ask about it, they see that I've actually put some work into the character as opposed to just slapped all this together. The Cub Scout salute is with the 2 fingers. The Boy Scout salute is with the 3 fingers. Well, obviously, Man Scout with the 4 fingers.
That's nice.
Man Scout's a different ranking.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that.
As you go up ranks, you would add another finger. If it was the Elder Scouts, it'd be just the whole palm. So that'd be 5 fingers.
Is that Eagle Scouts, right?
The Eagles are still 3. It's still of the
3?
Boy Scouts. Yeah, there's just a special hand.
Elder Scouts is what it's called.
But well, I'm just saying, if there was an Elder Scouts, whatever, it'd be that. But yeah, but yeah, that's basically the thought process was that, because I remember going from Cub Scouts, you no longer do the 2-finger salute, you do the 3-finger salute. And so obviously, if you graduated to Man Scout, you would do a 4-finger salute.
I like that character development. That's really neat.
So why don't you tell us about a couple of your favorite opponents that you've ever fought in the ring?
Well, I think probably the famous one, if you're going to see some of my best work, would probably be the work I did done with John Schuyler in PWX. I think
that's a great company. I would love for you to talk about that one in particular, because I always hear great things about it, but I haven't taken the travel down to, is it Fayetteville?
No, it's based here in Charlotte. We run in the Charlotte, Concord, Hickory, Shelby kind of area. Mm-hmm. I'd probably say that my matches with him are probably some of my best work, and my feud with him, which started out of a mutual dislike of each other very early on. And I kind of chronicled that in my now ended podcast, Stranger in the Sutherland. We sat down and we talked about it and got a lot of that reasons out why I didn't like him, why he didn't like me, why we weren't on the same page with each other. But we accidentally became tag team partners. And he was leaving for England, and then we ended up being the tag team champions, and we ended up working with each other. And it was very much a situation of like, he didn't really trust me at first, I didn't really trust him, but when we worked together, there was a bit of chemistry there. I was under a lot of stress at that time, and he was very generous to me, and he helped me out. And the matches we had, with the I Quit match, the Loser Takes 10 Lashings match, and then, of course, the culmination of everything, where I ended my 2-year losing streak by beating him for the PWX title. Like, that was probably my career highlight. And I really feel like, because I had a good adversary to work against, and because he plays his job very well as being a bad guy. when he needs to be the bad guy, he knows how to turn it on, and people got behind me, and I think my feud with him is probably one of the highlights of my career. Anytime that I worked with him, especially like the last match where it was a title match, and we literally took 5 minutes to call a 20-plus minute match. And the match right before us was Marty Scurll versus Cedric Alexander, but nobody remembers that match because our match was so good. Which
outshowing the bigger names. That's
good.
always saying something when you outshine the names that are as big as Marty Scurll and Cedric Alexander.
Yeah,
that always says something about the type of match that you guys can put on.
Well, and it was a very loaded match. It was just a continuation upon our feud, and like I left PWX for a short period of time because of auspicious circumstances, and he was a reflection of that. So it was a 2-year-long feud, and it was being culminated in this one moment, and we nailed it. And it involved also a lot of other people, the owner of the company, the people I was feuding against, and this person and these people, and we pulled out all the stops, and we nailed it. We nailed it that day. We nailed it that night, and I'm very happy. If you just type in Man Scout Jake Manning versus John Schuyler, doesn't matter what matches it is. It's fantastic and all worth a watch. And all of it's available in the High Spots Wrestling Network. I know you were talking about how you get to see PWX. You can get it on the High Spots Wrestling Network. We usually have the shows up almost immediately after the shows happen. So, yeah, I highly recommend that you take a look at all that. But as far as other opponents, and we can go down a whole list of people and different reasons why. I really enjoy wrestling Jerry the King Lawler because, heck, it's Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's the easiest and most funnest match I'll ever have. Every single time. We don't talk about anything. We just go out there and we do it, and it's great. And I love wrestling him. I had a really great match with Ryback last month.
That's what I've been hearing a lot of good stories about Ryback.
You know what? He's gotten. People have painted him up to be something he's most certainly not.
Mm-hmm.
When he showed up at the arena, he had watched some of my matches on YouTube and was calling stuff to me that I don't even do anymore, but he saw the one match where I did something.
He's like, you did it. I saw you do it.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I know you do this, and this is your dive spot. I go, oh, you saw the one match on YouTube where I did a dive, which is about the only match where I do a dive? Sure, I'll dive on you. But very giving, took excellent care with me. I didn't know, what it was going to be like when I stepped in the ring with him, but when I did, just smooth, easy. He just left the beginning very open, listened to the crowd, already knew my stuff, already knew how to make me look good. I highly recommend anybody that books him. They're getting their money's worth with him, in the ring, out of the ring. Like, just what a quality gentleman and a consummate professional. For him to, like, said, look me up and, like, hey, this guy does. Just yeah, and I heard that he did that recently with somebody else. Like, I know that the next guy he wrestled for the Northeast Wrestling, I think Wrecking Ball Legursky. I think he even looked at some of his matches online and was like, okay, that's what this guy does.
Legursky.
So he's researching the guys that he's wrestling and knows when he comes in to wrestle these people, I want to give them the best match that they've had all year or maybe in their lifetime. And for somebody that's making the type of money that he has and done the things that he does, for him to look at some of the up-and-comers and some people that are just trying to get a good match and trying to get something going, for him to do that for somebody else, just goes to show his character. So
yeah, because like if you really think about it, he started at the top.
Yeah.
Like he didn't run the whole indie scene for years. He really started. WWE saw him as a big guy. They signed him up, and he's now working all these smaller things that he didn't start with.
But at the same time, too, his struggle in developmental was very minimized. Like, I think he was even released for a short period of time. He got a job working at, like, Applebee's as, like, a waiter or a busboy just to make
Imagine him walking up to your table at Applebee's.
Yeah, like, he struggled for a while. Like, I think he was released for his developmental contract for a while, and he busted his ass to get himself back there. Then he finally got a shot with the NXT angle that they ran, and he did the best he could. But it wasn't easy for him in developmental. That's what people forget.
Yeah. Student of the game right there. That's the best thing I like to hear is because you hear all these bad rumors about him on the internet, and you hear all kinds of trash talked about him, but we can squash that right now. Our friend Jake Manning says right here, the big guy is definitely a good guy.
The big guy is a nice guy.
And he also is aware of his perception, and he feeds into it as well. So if he's like, well, I said this on Twitter, I'm like, yeah, because he's playing you, because he's working you, because
that's what you especially see on all these fan sites on Facebook. Ryback said that he gave the idea for this stuff. I think he feeds into that just because he does it now, just because the fans expect him to.
Yeah, and if you're getting caught up in that, then more power to you. But when he is in the ring and you're chanting CM Punk, he is loving every second of it. I promise.
I love when he does the knee. That's just like the biggest, and then he does the little, go to sleep. That's just such. It's just him feeding off the crowd and everything.
You can tell that you can tell that he just eats up every reaction he gets.
And I know that feeling as well. That feeling of being a bad guy and just getting that energy from people, even at negative or positive, is just. And that's the thing too that I think is really lost is a lot of the idea of the cool heel, which I hate. Like, your job as a heel is to get people to not like you.
Yeah, you're supposed to get booed out of the building.
And get that energy of, like, get out of my face. I hate your guts. Like, I've been accused of having X-Pac-like heat, which is basically like, go away. I don't want to.
No, that's the worst. That's the worst.
But at the same time, too, if you just sit in it long enough and sit in that type of heat, it's going to build because somebody's going to come out and do this. And, like, that's the thing too, is like promoters like, well, nobody really liked you. I'm like, well, yeah, because I'm the bad guy. You're
not supposed to like
me. Yeah, you're not supposed to like me. Nobody's supposed to say anything nice about me on Twitter. Nobody's supposed to do this. I'm supposed to be the guy that catches the good guy. I'm the guy that takes all of that guy's spots. And guess what? If your fans don't want to see me, let me sit out there even longer and then have the good guy come out and stop me.
Because it's going to make that reaction for that good guy even better.
Yep.
That's what that's one of the lost arts things is really like I've obviously I'm not in the professional wrestling game. I'm not training or anything, but I definitely have watched long enough to know it takes a good bad guy to build a good guy.
Yep. For sure.
100%. Because if you don't have a good bad guy, no one's going to care about the rise of the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, where would the Joker be without Batman? Or where would Batman be without the Joker?
But everybody's worried about the heel, selling T-shirts, getting as many gifts online as possible. All of that. I'm fully for like the Miz getting a world title run because nobody likes that guy, and I can only imagine how pissed off everybody would be if the Miz won the world title tomorrow, and the reaction that Kevin Owens would get if he took the belt off him.
What do you think about Jinder?
Yeah, what do you think about the whole Jinder Mahal thing?
We're big on Jinder winning that belt, but I know there's not that crazy build for it.
It'd be the same thing. Is that like nobody likes this guy, but gosh darn it, he's worked hard. He's stuck with it. He obviously is in phenomenal shape. He's a big enough guy. He's credible enough. I think his in-ring work, is well enough. But heck, if you put him against the right babyface of like that guy that people really want to see hold the belt, like, could you imagine AJ Styles chasing him for the belt? Like how badly people want to see AJ Styles take the belt from him, and he can, and that one time. But then the problem, we live in a world where ratings are important. People may be like, screw it, Jinder Mahal's the champion, and I'm not gonna watch this crap because I hate him. And then people start to panic, as opposed to like, wait, let's hold this out. 3 weeks down the road when we have AJ versus Jinder, you're going to get your big rating that you want. So,
and especially good for the international build, as you were saying earlier, with the Indian fan base, because it's such a big market right now.
Would love to see, because again, the only other Indian champion they've really had is the Great Khali. That didn't work out great.
But I think different faces, because
I feel like he has the perfect amount of heat on him. He wasn't really getting much reaction. He was the heel, obviously. He's a heel, obviously. He's been getting booed. And then the whole thing a couple weeks ago where he inadvertently hurt Finn Balor in a match. Gave him a week-long concussion.
Just as bad. So.
And it makes people just as mad.
So.
And I feel like that almost adds to all that heat.
Yep, because everybody feels like he doesn't deserve it.
So, speaking about big moment wins, I was informed that in Northeast Wrestling, you have an incredible, almost Goldberg-like streak.
Yes.
Is that right?
That is correct. I am currently 0-48.
Oh.
That's also including Battle Royals as well.
Oh,
so there's
okay, that's okay.
Just to let you know that some people say that doesn't count, but I feel like it does. It's a match.
A loss is a loss.
A loss is a loss is correct, my friend. But yes, I am 0-48. It's something that kind of got called to my attention around the 27 or 32 mark.
So this was not something you were trying for.
No, but like the promoter, Mike Lombardi, I don't think he really has paid too much attention to me. Also, too, I do wrestle a lot of guys like Sergeant Slaughter, Jared the King Lawler, and me.
You wrestle the guys that people come to see win.
Yes. So I end up in that predicament, but also, too, sometimes it's the football coach or the wrestling coach. So I get put in that predicament. But then in the other times when I'm wrestling somebody else, it's, like the times I wrestled Cedric Alexander there or Caleb Conley or anybody else, it's like, I have the babyface go over, and I'm usually the heel. So he hasn't put too much of thought hey, let's give him a win, until I started making a deal out of it, which was the thing that started the whole Under for Life, which started the 2-year losing streak that led me to, winning the belt to PWX. But it was just something that we didn't really pay attention to because it made sense that I would lose. And then the commentator said, my streak, apparently he'd been paying attention. And then I went back and looked at it. I go, oh my God, I haven't won a match in this promotion. And then it got to build a little bit and got a little bit of momentum. And they tried to stop it. And I was like, no, we got to keep this going. This is the best thing we can do.
That's a true professional right here, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't care about the wins. He's like, no, this is a good story. Let's go with it.
Well, and that's the thing. I let it branch out into other promotions. Other promotions saw what I was doing, and they're like, oh, well, I feel so bad that you're saying that you're Under for Life. I'm going to give you a win. And I was like, no, you don't.
No, you're not. I will lose on purpose if you put me away.
I've politicked more to lose than I ever had to have win. I don't think anybody can say that. I've politicked more to lose matches than win them. And I've definitely had to fight for it, and people thought I was crazy for sticking up for it, but it's the thing that defines me. And then the part of the reason for that is when I first started, everybody was talking about how over they were, the Young Bucks whole, over adulation of themselves was very big, and people were trying to copy that, and everybody was trying to talk about over they are, how big of deals they were. And I was just like, man, I'm never going to be at that level that I would ever believe that I could be that over, or I will never be at that level, or I'll never be that delusional. And also, too, everybody else is doing it. I'm going to do the opposite. And I'm going to make this spot that I have of wrestling those guys that everybody expects to win, or making this guy look good, or doing this. I'm going to make my spot cool, because everybody thinks that their spot is cool. So they just have to, it's not hard to make them look cool because their spot is cool. It's going to take somebody very special to make this spot that I'm in cool. And hopefully I've done that. And that's kind of been my goal for all of it.
I like it. I definitely enjoy it.
Like I said, it definitely says something that you're getting booked against these bigger names in all these shows, though.
Yeah.
It says that promoters and competitors themselves see something big in you.
Yeah. Well, it's like what I was talking with. We were talking before we started about Kazarni, Sin. Him and me, we're talking one time because I think him and me are very similar in the sense that he was talking about that he found his career in the same path because he had an interesting character. He was a big enough guy, and he could cut a decent promo and had a decent entrance. So he could come in and be a legitimate heel for whoever, whether it was a top guy, middle guy, or the curtain jerker, and he'd be a credible opponent, lose, and then come back the next week and be credible again. He just got to get on the microphone again. He can make people angry enough, and then just go through it all again. So he found that cycle of his career. So I've always seen that my worth is that when you book me against somebody that you're paying several $100s for, or $1,000 to come and have a match, you don't want to put them in there with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, and you want somebody that's going to have the vested interest of the show and the money that you put down for this person, and isn't going to hurt them and not going to talk bad about your company. He's going to be professional, and he's going to give you the maximum amount of what you paid for. And I feel like when people book me against those type of people, you're going to get that, whether it's a guy who's straight off of WWF TV, or, you know, like, because I've wrestled like Harry Smith, I've wrestled obviously Ryback, you know, guys that have come straight off TV, you know, just feed them to me. And then of course I've wrestled the Boogeymans, the Kozloffs, and then of course like the Hacksaw Jim Duggins, the Sergeant Slaughters, the guys that have a lot of miles on them. Somebody has to take care of those guys and not be like, hey Sarge, I do this 450 tilt-a-whirl head scissors. Do you think you could just catch me?
Dude, land you on your head
with one hand. Can you catch me with one hand and we can do this really cool spot?
Yeah, like you're not gonna get that from me, you know. And I give the same pitch to just about everybody. I always walk up to them and I'm like, hey man, I'm here for you. This isn't my hometown. I'm not trying to get a job. So whatever you want to do, I'm cool with. I'm here for you. And guys like that appreciate that. Like Scotty Tuhati was a guy that always appreciated that. I just wrestled Gilbert this weekend. I know he appreciated.
Oh, that seems like a fun one.
It was, and you're probably going to see a lot on big time wrestling shows for sure. And
I was going to say, well, he had quite the streak too.
Yes, exactly. Man after my own heart.
Fun to see during this whole quest for your streak. It's definitely fun to see you interact with Gilbert.
Streak versus streak.
Yep.
It's great. When do you think you've came the closest to like really getting the crowd to believe this was going to be your big win and you were going to reverse the streak? When was like the biggest time you've kind of played with their hearts in that aspect?
Well, it's taken a little bit for the promoter at Northeast Wrestling to get behind, but I think he's finally, after this match with Ryback, he finally sees it. And that's the thing too. It goes back to the credit of Ryback being unselfish. Like he gave me a lot of false finishes where like some of the people that I wrestled up there, they haven't been quite as generous, and they're guys with a far smaller resume. And like I think that was, people actually believed I was gonna be Ryback for a couple seconds, and then there was
that's quite the feather in your cap.
Yeah, well, that goes to him. That goes to him being unselfish. You know, like I can come up with that idea, and you know, but you know, he's got to execute it and put it in what he does and allow me to do all that. And he did, and that's what it took from him. And I think we're going to see a lot more interesting things with that. I think the wheels are finally turning. It's something I've been pushing for a while, and I haven't been able to do there. But I kind of did what I wanted to do in PWX. But I think we're going to see some very interesting altercations in Northeast Wrestling in the future for sure when it comes to my streak as I get close to almost being 0-50.
I've just definitely noticed that at this time in wrestling, at this current time we are in 2017, it is the top time for indie wrestling, in my opinion. Because right now, like, indie wrestling is just at its peak right now. Like, you can obviously make cases for other times, but in my opinion, indie wrestling is just at its peak where, because you see these guys that are leaving the bigger companies to say, hey, I kind of want to do the whole indie thing. Yeah. Or you can see companies, really the only company that really isn't an indie company by definition right now is really, like, I mean, you could maybe classify New Japan and then classify the WWE.
Yeah, it really is like one of the best times to be in professional wrestling.
Like every other company, you got Impact is basically now an indie company because they're bringing in a lot of guys that are really big in other companies.
Well, and guys are making real money. Guys are making T-shirt money. Guys are making like actual livings off of professional wrestling, and it's great. And also too, which didn't exist in years prior, was that there's forward progression. The same hot indie guys in 2005 were the same hot indie guys in 2009. You know, the fact that the Chris Heroes are employed for WWE, the fact that the guys that are...
They're finally moving up that ladder.
Yeah, like there's that forward progression, and also too that gets out of the way of everybody else, so everybody else can have shots.
Yeah, then the guys like you can move up that ladder even more. Guys, all these other guys we see moving up this ladder that were stuck and they were at a stagnant point because all these guys were still in the indie scene for all these years. Yeah. And now WWE's like, hey, we'll add you to development, or we'll add you to the main roster.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, is that just getting all these people in there. I mean, that's a big deal. That moves the chains. So.
And all the pieces start to align.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The guys that were stuck and forever, they get the opportunity to move up. You know, I mean, look how it helped for someone like a Kevin Steen to move up, or El Generico. Well, I mean, he really moved to Mexico.
And you wrestled Kevin Steen, right?
He actually died, I heard. El Generico.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's doing well in Mexico. I think the drug cartels are leaving him alone. But yeah, Kevin Steen. It's amazing to see him in the position he's at in the company, and the fact that they allowed that to happen. It feels like all my friends just like snuck in through the back door, and it feels like all these people who I like and loved, and people who stayed in my guest bedroom, like all are doing like an NWO style invasion every Monday night, because it's like
it's just an awesome thing to see. Like it's an awesome thing to see.
Well, the thing is, like, I remember doing Extra Talent in 2006 and 2007, and like there was speculation of like whether or not we would be able to eat in catering with these people. Ooh. You know, there was the Extra Talent locker room was the one time was like a little pub tent, and they just set it down like, here's your locker room, you guys got to set it up, you know, and they just treated us like second-class citizens. And I just did Extra Talent there maybe about 6 months ago, and it's like I got my arms got tired from hugging people, because it's all people that I've seen and work with and been around and are doing stuff. And that goes from referees to writers. Like there's Adam Pearce, there's Artie Evans, there's Jimmy Jacobs, there's you know, then you see the guys that are talent, you know, like there's Luke Gallows, there's Carl Anderson, there's Kevin Steen, Rich Swann is there, Drew Gulak. Like, it's like I just shared a locker room with you guys like a couple months ago, and now you're talking to Johnny Ace, and he's talking to you about business and what you guys are doing the next couple months down the road, and it's just mind blowing, and it's weird, and it's awesome, and it's great, and they finally have forced a wonderful working environment for creative people, and it's amazing to see, and it's
definitely a different type of WWE than we all grew up on.
Yeah.
But I think this is for the best.
It's what needed to happen for this business to continue the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, instead of investing in like guys that were football players that blew out their knee and they lost their dream in something else, you've hired guys that have dedicated their lives to this thing, and they did it, and guys that did it for $20 paydays, and guys that traveled the world and were their own brand, and
you see that love in them every time you see them in a ring or you see them cut a promo.
That's why there's so many people so humble.
Yeah, because it's like because they all weren't supposed to be there. Everybody knows that. Like they had this look of like, I'm not supposed to be here, and they're just that idea of like, oh my gosh, like I'm just lucky to even be here.
It's what's funny. It's because like a guy like a Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens. It's you're supposed to boo him, but you can't help but love the guy.
Yeah, you love the fact that he's there.
Yeah, like because he's not that typical guy. He's that, hey, I'm not the typical Bill.
Mm-hmm. But he's
like,
he's so unique. He's so in line with, you know, he's engaged with the audience. Like he he wants to be connected. Like much like a stand-up comedian, when you trying to lock into an audience and get everybody on the same page, he is most certainly that as a wrestler in that form. Like he tries to engage and have everybody lock into his match, and he's an engaging personality, and it's amazing to see him on the big stage doing it for larger audiences, and it's a talent we always knew he'd have. So yeah, it's amazing to see people like that do what they did in armories. You know, it was even amazing when seeing CM Punk. I remember being on the same show as CM Punk at like a Masonic Lodge in Moline, Illinois. And
must have been far back.
Yeah, he had a presence at that show that he had coming out for Raw as world champion. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's the amazing thing is these guys that we always knew were great, you know, and we just like, gosh, if the world just knew how great this guy was, you know.
All they needed was that one chance, and they grasped it.
And everybody's got it, and it's great. Like, you know, like it's great to see Cedric have that chance. It's good to see Scott Dawson get that chance. He was a North Carolina guy. Mm-hmm. I spent a lot of time with, and like all these guys, and it is a little hard to watch because I'm still here, and the likelihood of me being where they're at is kind of small.
What's your big goal right now? Are you thinking NXT and developmental center? Are you thinking just jump through everything, go to SmackDown, or are you thinking Impact, or even traveling around the world and just seeing the world, like guys who really love going to the UK scene, which is blowing up, and New Japan, of course. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I would love to do any of those things, mm-hmm. But I feel like I don't think that any of those things will happen, though. Unfortunately, I don't feel that. I don't feel that WWE would be interested in a guy who's 35 years old, with failing knees, that has zero international experience or any type of buzz around him on the indie scene. Like I can't get arrested for some wrestling promotions. Like I can't get anybody to book me in Providence, Rhode Island for a show in August. It's hard for me to get bookers in Chicago to return my email. For me to say, oh, I end up in WWE, when indie promoters aren't even returning my emails. And the idea of traveling across the world, that'd be great and fantastic. But like I said, I have a hard enough time getting a promoter in Winston-Salem to pulling the trigger and booking me. So, I mean, I got to be realistic.
I'm going to definitely say have something
that's definitely a good thing.
But at the same time, too, like I'm not supposed to be here. I thought my career was over 2 or 3 years ago. Like I had a knee injury, and I thought it was over. But I rehabbed it. I worked hard on it.
Come back stronger.
I feel like I've come back stronger. But at the same time too, I've come back stronger because I took the same. I took a different mindset towards it, and it was a mindset that I got from Colt's Art of Wrestling podcast when he interviewed CM Punk, and CM Punk said that he was a failure in professional wrestling. Like, here's a guy that's done more than I will ever do in professional wrestling and will be better at it than I will ever be, and he views his career as a failure. So obviously, I'm for sure a failure then. And
I wouldn't say so. I'd say you have something special that a lot of wrestlers, like, don't get me wrong, as we were talking before with the Young Bucks, I love them, but I love you have character. At the end of the day, you have a character that is good.
Let me clarify that, though. I'm not saying that to seek praise or seek. I'm not fishing for compliments on that sense. Making that statement was the most freeing thing I could possibly ever do. By admitting that to myself, that yes, I failed. I failed at my dreams, my goals, and all that, and freeing myself of all of my expectations that I've put on my entire career. Anything good that ever happened in pro wrestling, I minimized immediately because I was like, oh, well, this is good, but I need to do better, or this is good, but I really should have been doing this at this promotion, or I'm like, oh, this is good, but I'm not wrestling for Ring of Honor. Oh, this is good, but I should have been doing this here at then. Like, I was always trying to minimize everything because I had all these large expectations of where I need to be and where I need to go. But when I just admitted to myself, like, it's never going to happen, you failed, you did this, it freed me. It freed me from all of it and allows me to be open to whatever comes my way now. I look at every time that I step in the ring as a gift because I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be doing it. I said I was going to be done at 33, but for whatever reason, I still want to do it. So when
how can you not like a guy like this?
Yeah.
Like, literally, you're just the most likable professional wrestler I think I've ever met.
Oh, well, I appreciate you.
And my buddy Cole, he really, you were the one person. I don't want to make you feel bad in any way at all, but you were the one person out of Revolt back in February of last year or January. He wanted to see you. Like, you were the person, like, he wanted to stand there and take a picture beside you. Of course, we were still happy to take it with Caleb Conley and Zane, but you were the one person. Like, there are definitely people out there who are like Man Scout fans, like definitely contacting you and just saying, you know, thank you for giving to me and giving back to the industry, especially because I really value characters in wrestling. I think that's what makes everything stand out. And so seeing a unique character as the Man Scout, I think there's definitely time left for Man Scout to succeed and to play his own, you know, role.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. When I say like things like that, I'm like I said, I'm not fishing for compliments, and I'm not. And I feel bad when I say that because I know that there are some people that really dig the things that I do. There is a small group of people that really are very good fans, and I am very grateful to have them in my life and share this. And I feel happy that now, because of my new outlook on life and my career, that I can give you the best of me without, doing something good in professional wrestling and then trying to minimize it. The fact that, like, I treat every match as a gift, every opportunity as just like, you know what? I'm not supposed to be here, man. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be done. I'm supposed to be on, or I'm supposed to have made the millions of dollars and rode off into the sunset. But I'm still here, and I'm here because I feel like I have more to give. And when you tell me stories of fans that just even want to take pictures with me or want to come see me wrestle or dig what I do or favor what I like on Twitter or come out to the shows or buy a picture or shake my hand or take a picture with me, those things mean something to me because without that I'm a nobody. I'm a nothing. And hopefully me doing this gives back to you because everything good that I have in my life has come originally from professional wrestling. You know, I date a girl that used to be a professional wrestler, and if I didn't get involved in professional wrestling, I'd miss out on the love of my life. And if I didn't do professional wrestling, I wouldn't have the best job in the world working at highspots.com. If I didn't have professional wrestling, I wouldn't have been able to refinance for this house that I have. I mean, I have a very small corner, and I have some very good fans, and I'm very grateful that I have them. So when I say that I feel that I've failed, it's only to free myself from these large expectations that I choked on through most of my career, and so I can give the best of what I have left to everybody that supported me along the way.
Most definitely. I personally, like, while we were talking about like bigger things for you, I personally would have loved to see you out there. Yeah, you might have not liked it as much because it might have hurt a little bit. See you get thrown around by Braun Strowman for about 2 minutes.
Everybody talking
that was in the
about
back of my mind.
Everybody, I've had one guy on Twitter that tweets every Monday about me wrestling Braun Strowman, and if there's ever a time where WWE Extra Talent ever returns an email, and I get put in there against Braun Strowman, and I'm wearing a Boy Scout outfit, that guy will lose his mind, probably.
Yes, that guy will have the biggest mark-out moment of his life.
And it could turn into a bigger opportunity. Just look at Ellsworth.
It makes me want to push. It wants me to push harder to do that, just to make that one person lose their mind. Like just as a joke on a premise, like I would almost do do anything myself just to make that guy's mind explode. So.
Just to make that guy have the greatest night of his life.
Yes.
That was great.
That's actually hilarious. I did not previously know that story, but that's honestly one of the funniest things I'll take out of this podcast tonight is the fact that this guy tweets you every Monday.
Every Monday about like when's Braun Strowman gonna wrestle the Man Scout, and he's like, he's adding like Regal, he's adding WWE, he's mentioning everybody.
Let's get this going. Let's get more people in on this concept. Let's get more people in on this because eventually they'll have to listen. If we can get enough people listening, we can get enough people saying, "Hey, let's do this."
If you're going in an ambulance, it's flipping over.
You're next.
That's great. That's great. We'll have to find him and definitely tweet at him. See how he would what would be his fantasy booking of Braun Strowman beating you up? Would he just go with the normal backwards choke slam thing he does, or is he gonna throw you off the stage in a dumpster like Kalisto?
Either or.
That's what I like about you. You'll do whatever it takes to put somebody over.
Yeah, he could like choke slam me onto a camping tent. You know what I'm saying? I can send a tent.
Put me through a tent.
Put me through a tent.
Stage lights.
Yeah.
That is great.
Bring me up a flagpole.
So we're winding down now in our time. I'm gonna ask one final question. I don't know how to one up it from previous before. Like I feel really hyped and like humbled, and very much so like I'm ready to see like the opportunities you get. Like I'm kind of just waiting like right after this to hear like, hey, an opportunity came up and you just want to give back to everybody else, but like your time to shine is ready. So I would love for that to happen in particular, but of course in your good nature, what would be the best thing about giving back, and what would be the best advice to give to, because we had this question on a podcast last week with Mr. Martin Casals from Tough Enough and Lucha Undergrounds and Netflix and all that, being what would be the best advice you give to a new wrestler? It came from Zach Murphy.
Well, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. And now I've started to do stand-up comedy. That's something that I've been slowly transitioning into. I realize I can't wrestle forever as much as I would like to, as much as I would like to be like George South and be wrestling into my 50s and even 60s. I don't know if my body will hold up quite as long, and I still want to entertain people and make people laugh. So I've started my journey in stand-up comedy. I'm actually on my way to the Wrestling Revolver shows next week. I will be probably hitting up open mics all the way there. Yeah, not even like paid shows, but like open mics where I just put my name on a piece of paper and do that. But I've had to really, as I start another venture into entertainment and something that takes a lot of time and travel and sacrifice and paying dues, I really had to look back at my own career and look at the things that I didn't do well and didn't do right and didn't do well. Like I said, I choked on my own expectations. And I think that maybe that'd be the biggest takeaway from that. It's like, don't let the big goal get in the way of you enjoying this time right now. Like, I listen to a lot of podcasts with like big comedians. Like I remember Jim Jeffries talking about the happiest time of his life. It was when he was just, doing open mics, doing small bar shows with his friends in his first 2 or 3 years of comedy. He said it was the happiest time of his life because he was out drinking, he was hanging out with his friends, and he was just doing it. He was telling jokes and making people laugh. There was a small crowd, and now he does theaters. And I did an interview with the guy that opens up for him, and he said that Jim Jeffries works harder than anybody else he knows. And for a guy that puts out as many Netflix specials, I guess he's going to be getting a new Comedy Central show. Like he's working all the time. He has a kid now, so he's super busy. He's constantly working on stuff. He had his own FX series. It works all the time. And I guarantee there's a time where he's like, gosh, I miss those days when I was just doing comedy with my friends. And I think my thing would translate to pro wrestling is enjoy those early days where it's just about wrestling. Don't worry about like, is this booking going to get me in front of the people that are going to hire me for WWE. You know, and that's all I did was like, how is this? I'm going to do this, and then this is going to put me here. I'm going to get this booking. I'm going to have this really great match here, and then somebody from WWE is going to see me. I'm going to get a job this way, and always thinking about how this is going to advance your career as opposed to enjoying the time that's in front of you. And the people that really did that are the people who are successes now. The people that just worried about being good in professional wrestling, guess what? They're the ones on TV right now.
They're finally getting their chance.
Well, that's the thing, is that they just worried about being good in the ring. I was worried about what do I need to do politically? Who do I need to talk to? And how I need to get to this point in my career, or I need to get to this point, and just completely forgot what it was all about, is just being good at something. So don't put a timetable on things. Everybody's path is different. Just worry about being as good as you possibly can be at that moment in time, and realize, most importantly, this is all just luck. Mm-hmm. You're going to get there because out of sheer luck. Because I'll tell you what, you know, a lot of those people that work very hard on TV, and I know their path, and I know their struggles, and I know a lot of their pains and the struggle they got to get there. But tell you what, there's 100 more people that work just as hard that didn't get the opportunity that they did. And the only difference between them and the guy that's sitting at home right now that used to wrestle is luck. So understand this is all about luck, and just worry about being as good as you can be at that moment in time.
Some best advice. Definitely thank you very much for that. Mullins, if there's anything you want to add in real quick.
I just want to, again, thank you for your time. Like I said, you're easily one of the most likable wrestling personalities I've ever met. Mm-hmm. Just there's nothing you can literally hate. Like there's always a moment where like you see a guy do something outside of character and whatnot, and you're just like, oh, that guy's just a dick, or oh, I don't like that guy. But you are literally like you're what a person should hope to be like.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Just in general, I wish you the best in the rest of your wrestling career. You are definitely welcome back here anytime you want to come on and talk with us. We would love to have you. I will definitely be checking out your stuff that you have. If you want to plug that stuff again for the iTunes podcasts.
Yes, absolutely. You can subscribe on iTunes or SoundCloud or Stitcher or YouTube or anywhere where podcasts are available. You can just look up How Did This Get Booked at howdidthisgetbooked.com. Also, too, I'm available on Twitter and Instagram at ManScoutManning. I have a Facebook page. It's under my real name. You'll find it, I'm sure, or you'll stumble to it. But, excuse me, at ManScoutManning at howdidthisgetbooked.com, which is where my merch is available. So if you want Man Scout Manning merch, it is available at howdidthisgetbooked.com in the merch section. So
good deal.
That's great. Of course, we'll be throwing down some links down below of some of my favorite matches. I'll try to find a video on Facebook, try to upload it on YouTube, or hopefully they'll have it through high spots of one of the matches I've seen you wrestle, and we're going to throw it down below. Of course, all the links to your social medias. And like I said, just thank you for letting us have this opportunity and just getting to know you a bit. And you know, it's been great. I'll definitely say that. Just thank you very much. And
well, thank you guys.
I wish everyone a happy and safe day. Until then, keep it safe.